Nostalgia is a funny thing. Reliving the glory days simply for old time's sake, going back to the past while feeling stuck in the now. Trying to recapture memories of your younger years only to never get that special feeling that's eluded you for what seems like an eternity. The games of yesteryear no longer feeling like the blissful experience you remember. It becomes something of a Mandela effect. In 1996, Super Mario 64 burst onto the market and set a new standard for how we play video games today. It's been said that what the original Super Mario on the NES did for the 2D side-scroller in the mid-80s, the Italian ex-plumber's first foray on the Nintendo 64 did the same thing for the 3D platformer. Looking back at it now, it's clear to see that this game has aged about as well as any child celebrity ever, what with its admittedly low-res at times graphics, somewhat archaic control scheme, and absolutely jagged camera work among other things. But even for all its faults, Super Mario 64 defined a generation of gamers, and I'll throw myself into that group, as I got to experience it as a kid myself through the Nintendo DS's first Mario adventure, a handheld port of the 64-bit classic. You know, the epitome of don't broke what ain't fixed. Did I say that right? I've since gone on to fully complete both versions, and accordingly it's a game on which I look back fondly, mixed into the ranks with the likes of Super Mario 3 and the Galaxy series. There were a handful of reasons why I chose to replay Mario 64 last month, two of which should be pretty obvious. As I progressed further into the game, however, I noticed there was something that just seemed a little off. It wasn't the groundbreaking, eye-popping experience I remembered from all those years ago. When I wasn't jumping into paintings or collecting the caps or swinging Gay Bowser around by his tail, it really felt like something else. It seemed to turn into a different game altogether. In fact, the more I think about it, I'm not sure there was even a game to begin with. Super Mario 64 became a mystery, and Mario was the detective reading between the lines, piecing together the desperate madness that's plaguing Peach's castle, the main hub that's supposed to lead our mustachioed Marvel to all the power stars. It's critical to note that Mario 64 gives the Scarlet Stallion his only real opportunity to explore the whole castle grounds, take in its vast array of amenities, and be awed by just how articulate and overly spacious it is. And that's the crux of this problem. Princess Peach's bright and colorful mansion is no ordinary residence. Actually, I'm not so sure how to describe it at the moment. I think in order to figure it out, we need to dissect this big house piece by piece. And I think there's no better place to look at first than outside the castle, where the opening cutscene takes place at the very beginning of this spookfest. So if you guys are ready to hop into this rabbit pipe with me, then let's-a go.
Okie dokie.
It's an iconic introduction rivaled by few. A Lakitu camera operator setting the stage just a short walk from the castle entrance, where a warp pipe sprouts from the ground, out of which a newly 3D Mario jumps with one of his trademark yahoos. The story goes that Princess Peach has invited her red-capped hero over for cake. I couldn't tell you what the occasion is, but you gotta be brain dead to refuse such an offer, so understandably that's why Mario's here. Two things pop off the screen at me from this sequence. First, the warp pipe. When Mario lands on his feet a short jog away from the entrance door to the castle interior, he is sure to soon realize that something is horribly wrong. Apparently, his warp pipe was the only way he could reach the castle grounds in the first place, because the area he's in now is completely blocked off by these invisible barricades marked by near vertical walls of grass. There's no way out. Mario's trapped here. Even if he gets the cynical idea to try to break physics and somehow glitch his way past one of these barriers, well, he won't make it very far. Already a fate truly worse than death, and I haven't even scraped the tip of this iceberg. There's the matter of this Lakitu in his camera. For whatever reason, he locks onto Mario and follows him for all eternity, not letting up once unless in the case of uber-tight platforming. And it's not like Mario doesn't know he's there either. He can clearly see Mr. Camera Lakitu right as he shoots out of the pipe, and then he gets stopped by the other Mr. Camera Lakitu at the foot of the bridge to the castle entrance. Mario finds himself in a scenario not unlike the Truman Show, the difference being that he's well aware he's being followed. He could easily think to do something about these pests, especially given that these are the same cloud-hopping enemies that dropped seismic waves of spinies on him in the past. If I'm in Mario's shoes, I'm a little less enthused by the Lakitu brothers' presence. Don't trust anybody, right? Well, to Mario's credit, he never bothers with them. He just lets them hang out in the background, allowing us as the player to see how this mystery is going to play out. Right after we read the near-endless plethora of signposts littered all over the castle grounds. Dear Lord, these signposts. I get it. They help the player learn to play the game. But in terms of story, there is no logical explanation for why Mario needs to know all this at this point in time. The Red Rifle is still under the impression that he's about to share a cake with the princess. What in the world would triple jumping or long jumping or swimming or climbing trees have anything to do with a cake date? Maybe somebody other than Peach was expecting him here, but who would fit that bill? This is Peach's castle after all, a remote island somewhere in 3D space accessible only by warp pipe. Let's just go inside. Okay, you don't need to tell me twice. Are you sure I'm inside Peach's castle? Who on earth is talking to me? No one's home? Well, I'm gonna get my cake one way or another, so might as well get busy with the investigation. I will say that so far the castle interior is looking along the lines of what I might expect. 2 floors in the main hub, red carpet over the stairway, lots of doorways that are locked for some reason. These aren't your normal run-of-the-mill locked doors either. The big majority of these doors are open with power stars, the energy source that I guess supplies the castle with power? Only one of these star doors is unlocked, so I'm assuming this is the room where we're having the cake, right? Surely the princess will be here momentarily to explain the odd decision to make this room into an art exhibit, or who this random voice was that told me to turn back now. Where is the princess anyway? As far as I know, I just got her invitation. Surely nothing ominous could have transpired just before I arrived, right? My little Loomies, prepare to feel your heart sink, because here's a wild mushroom guy ex machina to break down the terrifying news. Now, this is a member of the same mushroom species that would lead you to another castle in order to locate Princess Peach in past adventures, so he probably knows what's up. I will thus hypothesize that half of his statement is true. I say half because as far as I know, he's a small boy under several layers of mold spores, and therefore it appears he has the capability to move towards Mario at any given moment, unobstructed by the castle walls. But now that I know what's up, my attention turns to the welfare of the princess. Think about this. What if you woke up one morning and found yourself sealed away within the walls of your own home? A prisoner in the one place where you should feel safe. The worst part is that I still haven't seen the princess since I got here, so I can't be sure if she's even in one piece. Like, is she under the influence of Bowser's dark magic? For all I know, that stuff may have the power to do more than entomb her within the castle walls. Here we find a mosaic of Peach directly above the castle entrance on the outside, and possibly another one within. Could that be a hint to Peach's whereabouts? Or even worse, what if she is the castle walls? Well, later we'll get another clue to this frightening mystery upon gaining access to the princess's tower, where we come across 3 more of those Peach mosaics, one of which leads to a pair of hidden power stars. There's also a note on the wall that Peach was nice enough to leave us, and at least give us some first-hand insight on how she's doing. My castle is in great peril. I know that Bowser is the cause, and I know that only you can stop him. The doors in the castle that have been sealed by Bowser can be opened only with star power. Please, Mario, you have to help us. Retrieve all of the power stars in the castle and free us from this awful prison. And this is the last we hear from the princess. Upon reading her ominous message, however, I realize that something is very, very wrong. I'm inferring that Peach made this note for us after Bowser took over the castle, which leaves us with a major problem. If she's really sealed within the walls of her castle like her servant says, then how could she interact with the outside world? I know it's her own home, but if she can't get herself out of the walls, I find it hard to believe she can stick a note right here. Unless she's somewhere behind these walls. This is her tower after all. I also find it plausible that Bowser would forget all about the princess and her well-being after committing this nefarious deed, and he thus wouldn't think to forge the note himself. This leaves me with one seriously sinister supposition. Maybe the princess really is the castle walls. If that's the case, well, this just turned into Bowser's most horrifyingly evil plot yet. You thought Mario committing murder for every Goomba he stomped on or every box he busted was par for the course? This time the princess may very well be fighting for her life right now. Is she even alive to begin with? Mario has no way of knowing if the star power can perfectly reverse all of Bowser's black magic. For all we know, Peach could end up permanently disfigured when all is said and done, if she even survives this ordeal. Speaking of, as we explore more of the castle, the mushroom servants only seem all too eager to remind us that she's in grave danger. Oh boy, it's not looking good for Peach. She's still trapped somewhere within the walls. Please, Mario, you have to help her. It just gives me the chilling impression that time is not on our side, that the princess's condition is critical. And that's the best case scenario. What if it's already too late and nobody knows? The mushroom guys haven't seen her at all. That no-good meanie Bowser probably forgets that she exists. Mario's clearly facing an uphill battle here, and it might take a while for him to make any progress. When we enter the castle for the first time, we quickly realize that we can't do much out of the gate. There's one big door with a keyhole on it, we know what that means. There are these 2 wooden doors that both give us access to a separate hallway leading to another key-locked door downstairs, and of course the door to the infamous courtyard. But there's nothing in the courtyard right now, so that's a bust. No reason to have to go back out there again. The remaining doors have pictures of power stars plastered on them, the rooms they all hide blocked off without any star power door name. All of them, that is, except the one on the far left, which leads to the world-famous Bob-omb painting, and of course the battlefield world hidden within the artwork. But even that is unsettling. No, not the concept of jumping into paintings. Why is this room open to begin with? Apparently the star power Bowser's conjured has the capability to create those imaginary worlds from the paintings as well as close off all the doors that unlock the remaining rooms. Then for some reason we have this outlier. Is this a mistake on Bowser's part? It leads me to ponder just how differently this story might play out if the Bob-omb battlefield was inaccessible from the get-go, as my fellow YouTube creator SwankyBox documented once upon a time. Now, Swanky's got a lot more time on his hands and therefore was able to put some actual research into his experimentation session, so I'll link you to his video in the description because I'm sure you'll want to check it out. Anyway, what do we make of what appears to be a costly oversight that will eventually allow Mario to recover enough star power to break the seal over Peach's castle? Well, as it turns out, this arbitrary handicap is more important to the plot than I ever would have guessed. In order to uncover the final answer, class, I'm going to have you turn to pages 4 and 5 of your enclosed instruction book. Oh, you don't have your instruction book? Me neither. Yeah, apparently well before my time, there were these things called instruction manuals. Anyway, I'm going to read a short passage from the story section of the instruction booklet, which I should disclose is in turn coming from the Mario 64 page over on the Super Mario Wiki. I'll also drop another link for that in the description. Once inside the painting, Mario finds himself in the midst of battling Bob-ombs. According to the Bob-omb buddies, someone or something has suddenly attacked the castle and stolen the power stars. These stars protect the castle. With the stars in his control, the Beast plans to take over the Mushroom Castle. To help him accomplish this, he plans to convert the residents of the painting world into monsters as well. If nothing is done, all those monsters will soon begin to overflow from inside the painting. Wow! So now we know that Bowser's big bad plot this time around is far more sinister than meets the eye. Good news for the recently incapacitated mushroom residents, Mario is basically their version of Superman. But even then, his surprisingly acrobatic heroics won't be enough this time. Even after intervening in the battlegrounds in time to avert disaster there, it's too late. Bowser's mushroom domination pod is already stirring with full force as his monsters soon come to infest the courtyard. Yeah, you heard that correctly. That enclosed outdoor area out back which I just now assume there will be no reason to revisit. And I know what you're thinking. Are we sure this is a courtyard and not a graveyard? Well, knowing what we know now, it seems more likely that Bowser is to blame for this sudden abundance of ghost creatures swarming around this wasteland. As for why they don't think to take over the rest of the castle, I'm just going to chalk that up to Bowser, in his apparent lack of logic, simply told them to stay out there, in the same sense that he orders his green little minions to walk off the earth. It's a good thing they haven't yet destroyed the legendary Eternal Star statue either. Methinks the trademark Luigi death stare awaits anyone who so much as lays a finger on it. So no, I don't think anybody died here. That doesn't mean we're in the clear, however, far from it. Despite all the strength Mario has gained from retrieving progressively more star power, he still has not found any sign of Princess Peach. But Mario won't give up hope that easily, and upon collecting his 8th power star, he appears to finally get an answer. With the seal on the big star broken, Mario hears the sound of the princess calling for help from within. At last, a sigh of relief. Maybe she'll be able to aid Mario through the rest of this adventure, like in the upcoming Super Mario movie. But for now, the princess awaits at the end of this long, narrow hallway, at least plastered onto another painting. By this point, Mario understands the rules of the game, so he wastes no time charging towards his goal, only to see his dearly beloved slowly devolve in front of him the closer he gets, until all that's left is a portrait of Gay Bowser's evil stare. And then the bottom literally drops out from below our red hero's feet when the Koopa King drops the truth bomb on him. His princess is in another castle. It's Super Mario Bros. All over again. From there, it's a race against time. From Mushroom Guys getting increasingly concerned about Peach's limited state, to Boo Diddleys wreaking havoc outside, to levels changing size at a pipe's notice, to Monkey stealing Mario's hat and keeping it even after he leaves the stage, to the perpetual ticking of an actual grandfather clock, the perfect symbol for this adventure, as if time really is running out. And if you remember where the clock is, you know where this is going next. No, the princess isn't trapped within the clock, although that would be very fitting given the nature of this adventure, but our Italian marvel is getting dangerously close. He has to be. He's already smacked Gay Bowser around twice up to this point, and if I've learned anything from Mario games over the years, is that the third time is always the charm. In this case, holding 70 of the castle's power stars will grant Mario entry to the Stairway to Heaven, the long final passage that leads to, of course, the highest room of the tallest tower.
I read it in a book once.
Wait a minute, so Bowser clearly implies that the big star door won't unlock unless Mario has the required 70, and then it opens anyway. I don't know what in the mushroom world he's talking about. So, shaking off this discrepancy, Mario begins his holy ascent. After a while, however, he notices a slight, and yet at the same time infinite problem. Try as he might, he just can't reach the top, laboring as best he can up the stairs. But they just seem endless, as if no matter what he does, and no matter what he tries, he can never reach his beloved princess. He's run into a brick wall, or in this case some endless stairs. What makes it even more unsettling is by far the most prolific symbol of this perpetual nightmare, the music in the background. That eerie, unmistakable xylophone melody that gets progressively higher, crossing several octaves in its relentless climb until you can no longer hear it. And even then, you notice a fresh new melody taking its place, continuing its dissonant chromatic scale all over again. It never ends. There are a few reasons for turning back now. Mario might think getting more star power will snap him out of this predicament. The sooner he climbs back down, the less ground he has to cover to return to ground zero, right? So now Mario begins his walk of shame, and the moment he turns his head, his heart just sinks. Two portraits of Bowser gaze mockingly at the former plumber as he realizes he hasn't made much progress after all. It's so demoralizing. What would be even more so is if he could never escape this infinite staircase. That would seal the hard-fought victory for Bowser, but alas, Mario's at least able to quickly, and still in one piece, return to the clock room where he can collect more star power. Thus he eventually does scale the cursed stair, leading him into the final Bowser stage. Certainly, Mario's feeling the race to the princess coming down to the wire, what with this ominous red sky surrounding the level and him potentially getting vertigo from being thrust into the heavens, possibly a sneaky callback to that cloud stage. Mario surely remembers falling out of Wing Mario Over the Rainbow only to find himself back outside Peach's castle at the furthest point away from that level, or perhaps getting sucked into the waterfall from the Metal Cap stage. That kind of interconnection between level and hub adds an unhealthy amount of depth to this adventure. In those stages, Mario feels just the same as in the 15 main worlds, but if he fails these two in particular, he suddenly wakes up from a dreamlike state, like he's just been splashed with ice water. He doesn't die like he normally would. He just opens his eyes and wonders what he did last night before bursting out of his thought bubble. At least that never happens in Bowser in the Sky. Mario's free to jump back in if need be and trudge one more maze of tricky jumps, impossible Goombas, fire-breathing black beans, stealthy red coins, and say it with me, not just the wind. And after all that, here's Gay Bowser with one more ominous surprise. Judging by the church organ in the background, our soulless red plumber has made it to somebody's funeral. Whose? Well, the answer isn't looking too good. Your friends are all trapped within the walls, and you'll never see the princess again. I think the only question left to ask is, if Princess Peach was truly dead, would Bowser be considerate enough to tell Mario the truth? I know he tried to end Plumber Boy twice before, but even he has standards, right? Actions speak louder than words, and despite being better known for his grunts, hi-yas, and wahoos, Mario's perseverance in the face of adversity over the years has made him into the icon he is today. And having the superior strength and star power, in spite of Bowser's desperate insistence, he puts the face-swollen turtle away for the final time, restoring the power of the stars to Peach's castle and using it to finally recover his beloved princess, I'm guessing from within this mosaic. Anyway, the princess gives Mario his cake as promised, and everybody lives happily ever after. Yes, even Luigi.
Yahoo!
You might be familiar with the recent theory that suggests that every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized, powered by highly experimental code such that it caters to its player based on all the choices they make, thus giving the player memories of and experiences with Mario 64 that only they could have. Some have thrown this idea around as a possible explanation to why different people remember the game differently. Notwithstanding just how far-fetched the experimental AI theory looks on paper, I can buy into the suggestion that every gamer's unique experience with Super Mario 64 is personalized. But why? Why do we attribute this creepypasta to Mario 64 in particular? You know, this makes me think of the capture mechanic in Super Mario Odyssey. They're called points of view. People are going to look at the same video game at different angles. It's a phenomenon that's going to happen with any game. Here's the kicker. Super Mario 64 is already the most speculated video game of all time. Long before the internet exploded, rumors were already going around like the hands on that clock concerning where to find the elusive 121st Power Star and how to unlock the fabled Green Mario prophesied on the Eternal Star statue. So when you throw those theories around in a sandbox-like adventure such as 64, wherein the player is highly encouraged to take any path they want and go through the missions in whichever order they may choose, that makes for a good number of reasons why I chose to revisit Super Mario 64, which leads me back to the matter of fulfilling this nostalgia trip. I've noticed that replaying games I think I know inside and out has led me to notice these little nuances I'd never considered before. This was happening on a smaller scale with Mario Galaxy last year, but here it just seemed to go into overdrive. Whether it's because I've somehow developed a more critical eye for these things, or rather I was just playing a different iteration of Mario 64's adventure versus a portable version from my childhood, one thing's for sure. It's pretty difficult to ignore a conclusion like this when I'm not the first one on YouTube that's brought it up. So if my video still hasn't convinced you, then feel free to take it with a grain of salt, but just remember to always pound your pillars. If you made it to this part of the video, then go into the comments and tell me one word that's missing from my script. And once you've done that, feel free to tell me what you thought about this video by giving me your thumbs. No, really, detach them from your hands and stick them onto the webpage. Thanks for subscribing and ringing my bell, cause I got gym class in half an hour. I'm on Ko-Fi now, so if you like what I'm doing, then why don't you get me a Pepsi? Or you can just say that I'm crazy, I'm fine with that too. Okay, bye!
Thank you so much for playing my game.